Today we have been exploring the extensive world of coffee, from its story throughout history, its politics and economics, all things environmental, leaving me to show you what I've found out about coffee culture. I focused on looking at people's relationship with coffee, in particular people living in Sydney compared to people living on the Central Coast. I've been investigating what do people feel about coffee, how do people interact with coffee, when do people drink coffee, where do they drink it, what is most popular, and just looking at why there is such a huge ever-growing culture for coffee.
Well, do you think that's funny?
A little bit.
Carla, Turk's drinking coffee.
No! If your pregnant wife can't have coffee, then you can't.
Oh, please have some sort of nut. Hazel.
I said, coffee, coffee, coffee. Right. As in, I really need coffee, coffee, coffee. You know? Now, coffee, coffee, coffee is a saying, like an exaggeration. It's a funny, desperate cry for caffeine.
Well, Sydney can do something very niche for a niche market because you've got so many people in one area. You're likely to capture that niche market because it's there. Whereas here the market is very broad and it's not so niche. So yeah, we don't really have a niche market up here. it's more you've got to cater to the broader market up here.
So it's not so much of a coffee culture?
Not so much of it as a coffee culture, that's exactly right. Sydney, you have to have a coffee before you think, and then you move on to the very busy day and the very busy lifestyle, and you're running behind the person who's running in front of you to get to the car, and it's just a different culture, yeah. And they're happy to sit on the pavement on a cardboard box and have their coffee just as long as it's quick and they're out of there. I think there's a hint of it in the air, but as we mentioned before, I definitely think it's a more social thing, and it's more, family friends gathering where family and friends feel comfortable and know the people, and yeah, it's more community than it is, I think, culture.
Do you think that younger people generally opt for sweeter drinks, like with those sweet
flavoured lattes?
Flavoured
lattes are much more popular with the younger crowd. I don't think I've ever had an older person ask for a flavoured coffee. It's generally all 25 and under. Yeah.
Actually, the coast has a more cafe lifestyle where friends will go to a cafe at the beach to meet and for breakfast or lunch and to have a coffee. In Sydney, however, it's impossible to be 50 metres away from a cafe, stall, shop, anything that doesn't sell coffee. On my way to uni, just from Central Station to, where we have our lectures at Haymarket, I think I counted about 15 places where I could get a coffee, and that is a very short distance that I walk from the intercity platforms. Yeah, so in Sydney, people's relationship with coffee is entirely different. It's got a whole completely different dynamic to it. Generally, people are on their way to work or to university and they grab a coffee on their way. It's really a coffee on the go dynamic, and it's all about quick, speedy, quality coffee. Like, life is just so much more fast-paced that the coffee is generally more for the caffeine energy hit, and it's an almost religious activity, and every person has their daily routine and buys coffee a lot more often. Speaking to workers on the Central Coast, many of them take their own instant coffee to work with them and make it there, as opposed to going out and buying coffee, which in Sydney is more the type of dynamic that happens there, because people will go on a lunch break together to the cafe to get out of the office and to spend some time outside and get a coffee. Whereas on the Central Coast, that's really different. People take their own coffee because, again, they don't really have enough money to buy coffee every day, and they don't necessarily have time or very big lunch breaks. One woman I interviewed who works at an aged care home said that some women at her workplace will make just small tiny shots of really concentrated coffee, and they drink it not for the taste at all, but just for a really fast concentrated energy hit, or just for the drug effect.
And a lot of the, younger people are opting for a mug. Everyone wants a big cup of coffee, whereas the older people, like the younger, the small standard cup of coffee, regular cup of coffee.
Do you think that's because of things like in the media or anything like that? Because you see things, well, with Starbucks, and they've got this tall grande and Gilmore Girls, and it's just becoming such a thing that young people think you have to have big, big everything, but it's not like necessary quality. Yeah.
No, and they get a bit of a shock when they have our coffee, because we do a double shot in a big one, so it blows their head off.
Yeah.
They're not expecting
yeah. So basically, coffee is everywhere and has been in our culture and society for hundreds of years. Well, maybe not hundreds, but prominently culture-wise for the past 100 at least. With coffee, it's a prominent icon in films like Breakfast at Tiffany's, and more recently in like cult religiously followed television shows like Scrubs and Gilmore Girls. It's everywhere in our society, and for some it's merely an energy hit, but for others it's a lifestyle. Like, there's world championship barista competitions. There's some guy in Chile who used to paint the Parliament House in Canberra, and now he opened a kind of strip club slash cafe, which is only open during the day, only sells coffee and juice, and it's most busy in the mornings, and the women are pretty much half naked serving coffee. So even suddenly over the past 5 years in Australia, apparently, I read a statistic, and it's that a total niche market has sprung up for barista teaching schools to give normal people education about how to make coffee better. Becoming an individual roaster is now more common as well. Companies such as Campo is going from small indie brands to like widely sought after and really well respected companies, and to the Golden Cobra, where the guy Dave who owns it drives from Sydney to Newcastle every week with his van full of coffee to get it roasted. So coffee is ultimately just the globally irresistible accepted drug. It's a natural part of our new globalized world.
The edge of the cup, and as you sip, more fluid just keeps coming up and up and up, and you can enjoy a cup of coffee in a weightless environment without having to sip it from a bag.
A fresh cup of coffee from your smartphone. Yes, it's finally possible. The pomegranate comes with a special holder for convenient hands-free coffee making. Total brew time is 30 seconds. It's the ultimate in mobile coffee making.
She says the coffee with legs phenomenon can trace its origins back to the end of Chile's military dictatorship in 1990.
after such a long dictatorship, people just felt like, wow, we're free, we can do whatever we want, we can finally do it.
Maria Soroka claims the cafes offer a release from a stifling conservative society.